Hey everybody, James with Love My Pets, My Breeder Supply. Tammy is out with the grandkids, so you just got me today. But hey, I am wearing green since it is St. Paddy's Day, so I'm not going to get pinched. I hope you're all wearing green. Okay, so let's have a look here. Let's start from Desi Melkor. How can you get rid of the brindle gene? Well, I've done lots of videos on this. You can't get rid of the brindle gene. You can get it just less expressed in the puppies that you produce. So my advice to you is always, if you've got a brindle dog, breed to a non-brindle dog. That cuts out half of it right away. And then there's some things that you can do to make the brindle gene not show up. Turn it into cream dogs, turn them into merle dogs, turn them into pied dogs. They all help the degree of brindling that you see. But you can't get rid of it per se, but you can reduce it in the puppies. Are there any vitamins that you recommend for upcoming studs? Not really. There are products like there's the Oxy products. I think it's Oxy Stud. I have my doubts as to how effective they are, honestly, but you probably can't hurt by using it. Let's have a look here. Eldrian Espino wants to know if we're having a good day. We are. What kind of sign? I want to pass a copy of cream on to all the puppies. Well, any chance of getting a platinum if the dad is blue and tan? Okay, well, there's quite a bit of stuff you've asked here, but I'm just going to answer this. So to get a cream puppy, it has to be little e, little e. It has to get a little e gene from each parent. If you want all puppies to be guaranteed to be cream carriers, then you need to have one of the parents as cream. If that parent is little e cream, could be lilac, could be platinum, but it's little e cream, it will hand the E gene off to every single puppy, so that will answer your question. Now, as far as platinums are concerned, a platinum dog is a dog that is blue, little d, cocoa, little co, and cream, little e, and it has to get one of each of those from each parent. It's got to get a copy of D, a copy of E, and a copy of cocoa from every parent, from both parents. So there's no ways that you can make that happen. But if one of the parents does not have one of those genes, you are not getting platinum dogs. Easton Meyer, I love your Q&A, blah, blah, blah. Why is it so risky for French Bulldogs to be put under anesthesia? It makes me very nervous when it will be time for my dog to have a C-section. Well, so the answer is it's not that risky. I mean, you know, I have never had a dog die on the table during anesthesia, not one time. And I've been involved in a lot of C-sections. It does happen occasionally. I think the most likely reason that it happens is that they've probably got the wrong weight on the dog and they've given too much anesthesia. That is probably the most likely outcome. But remember, anytime that you're having what we'd consider major surgery, you know, you're being anesthetized, whether it's you or me, and being cut open, there is a chance for things to go wrong. One would be a reaction to the anesthesia itself. You weren't aware of the fact that there was going to be a problem, but there are bad reactions sometimes for some people with anesthesia, and dogs too. The more likely thing is that you get infection, because remember, you're being opened up into a sterile environment. Something gets in there that causes the dog to no longer be sterile. You get infection, you sew it up, you don't know about it, and the dog gets in trouble. But these are relatively unlikely events. So the much more likely event, by the way, is that you don't do a C-section, you get a stuck puppy, and you lose puppies, you could even lose mum, because you haven't done the C-section. So my advice to you is just, you know, be aware of what the risks are, but, you know, you're kind of at the mercy of the vet and a certain amount of luck. And I mean, chances are, you know, luck's on your side, because the chances of having a problem are really pretty slim. So there's other things I'd worry about before I worried about that. Sunny L, there is absolutely no such thing as an Isabella carrier. An Isabella is DD BB. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, so I think the answer to this is that people describe things in different ways, and I think it's much better to give the actual DNA. Example would be, you're claiming your dog is an Isabella carrier. Why don't you say, my dog is big D, little d, big B, little b? That would be a dog that could produce Isabellas. I think it's much more clear as to what one's talking about. So I'm on the same front as Sunny on this. Let's see, there's some replies here. Let's see what the replies are. That's not a reply. Okay, so there we go. Does a dog with a copy of brindle look black or brindle? Kevin Martin. So a dog that has a copy of brindle and is not a cream, because cream hides up everything, you won't see it, not a cream, will typically show some brindling somewhere. On a dog that is a blue dog or a chocolate dog that's brindle, or a straight brindle dog, normally if it doesn't have hardly any brindling at all, you'll find a place on that dog where you'll see a little striation somewhere, typically on its flank, where you'll see there's a kind of little strip of color right there, just tiny little bit, and that gives you an idea that that dog is in fact a brindle. Now, will that impact how brindle the puppies are that it produces? I don't know the answer to that. I don't have any brindle dogs. I got rid of my brindle genes in all of my dogs some time ago. So no brindles for me. And you've heard me talk about this. It's not that I don't like brindle dogs, so don't go knocking me on that. I've talked about this many, many times. It's just that they muck up things like tan points. But if you've got, for instance, a Merle dog that carries a copy of brindle, it may be very hard to tell that the brindle is present. And so I advise anybody with a Merle dog is always go get DNA, because unless you absolutely know the DNA of the parents and there's no doubt what the puppy is, you absolutely can get this wrong. And remember, the problem here is if somebody comes and gets your dog from you and you've told it it's a particular DNA and it's not, there's a problem. There's a problem that you don't want. So I'm not saying it's your fault. Well, it is your fault if you don't get a DNA test done. Sometimes the DNA companies can mess up. I've been fallen afoul of that one before, where you had to have dogs retested because the things that you get back don't seem to be correct. I've got one going on right now, in fact, which is kind of frustrating. So Team USA says, I have a chocolate brindle with heavy lilac tint to him, like a chocolate lilac. Is that possible? Well, we're back to this. I have no clue. You haven't shown me a picture of the dog. I don't know what heavy lilac even means. Lilacs can be in all different shades. They can look fawn, they can look silvery, they can look deep blue. We're back to this. The way to find out is not to rely on somebody like me to tell you what the DNA is to go get the DNA and figure out what it really is. That way you won't make a mistake. All right. Next one, I messed up my cursor. What is the DNA that makes up you're a hero? Yeah, so there's actually a good response here from somebody who's responded a number of times, who knows his stuff, and we'll get to that in a moment when I find that, and I'll tell you what he says. I can't find it really quickly, unfortunately, but I'll get to it here in a moment. So we'll just answer that one in a second. I hope people check into Frenchie Racing because they buy them and don't know I have to AI them. A lot of times they need a cesarean section. Well, I think what he's saying here, Diana Strusk is saying, basically what she's saying is if you're buying a Frenchie and you're going to have puppies, be aware of the fact there's things you absolutely need to know about this before you ever get started. Do your due diligence beforehand. Realize that C-sections and AIs are things that you are going to be doing if you want to be successful at this. And so she's warning you that there are expenses and costs and things you have to do to get it done. And you're right. Easton Meyer. How far are we into this? How did you and Tammy get your kennel started? I also have a DNA test, but I'm climbing the walls for advice on how or what guesstimate color-wise puppies are. Well, look, I mean, firstly, if you've got a DNA report, you don't know what it means, text it to me, and I'll interpret it for you, or call me, either one. I can do that for you. But let's talk about how did Tammy and I get started on puppies. Well, so this for us is something that was going on for a long, long, long time. I mean, Tammy and I have been a partner for, not married all this time, but we've been together for, 22 years. And that's about how long it's been that we've been breeding dogs. We actually started off that we both had labs when we were single, and our labs got hooked up. And so that kind of got us together, kind of weird story. Too much information for most people probably there. But anyway, so we each had a lab. Mine was a boy, hers was a girl. We had a litter of puppies. We had lots of fun doing it. We were successful at it. There were no problems, luckily. But we went into it pretty much blind. Well, somewhat blind. I mean, Tammy was grooming dogs at that point, so she worked at the vet's office, so she knew a fair amount about dogs. I was with a computer company, so I didn't know squat about the actual process of breeding dogs. I know a lot more now, of course. But anyway, we had fun with it. It was a good experience. The kids enjoyed it. We made some money at it. You know, they were all thumbs up, good things. Let's do this again. And we did. And again, we had a similar result, great results. And so it was like, well, this is fun. Let's get another girl. So the next thing you know, we've got 4 lab girls. And we're going outside for stud services. I'm learning about the studding process, and then I'm actually kind of helping people with the stud service because I'm kind of interested in the whole thing. The next thing you know, Tammy sees, we did labs for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And we were pretty successful. We had some unique and different colors. Tammy saw her first French Bulldog on the AK, on the, one of the dog shows. I don't remember which one it was, not relevant anyway. But she decided that she wanted a French Bulldog and got one. And she got a female from a lady in Texas called Linda, a great girl, taught us a lot about French Bulldogs. She sold us a dog that she couldn't get pregnant. Lo and behold, 2 days after we got the dog, it came into heat. We took the dog back to her. She bred the dog. We had our first litter of 5 Frenchies. And that was the beginning of the whole Frenchie thing. And that's when we absolutely fell in love with the breed. Now, we still have a lab, one, who's a girl, who's just, you know, a house dog. But, you know, the Frenchies is a whole different story. We've got lots of Frenchies now. And how do we get into this? Well, you know, you slowly learn what you've got to do. I mean, the first thing is you can have 1, 3, 4 dogs in your house. That's how we started. But once you start getting to things like stud dogs, there's no way that you're going to have all those dogs in your house. It's just not going to happen. I mean, not for us anyway. It would, you know, it would not be a good fit. So at that point, then you've got to go start doing things like to figuring out what kind of a kennel you need, how big it needs to be, how much money you're going to spend on it, how many stalls are you going to have, what you're going to have for them to play, who's going to look after it, who's going to clean it up. You know, is it going to be air conditioned? Is it going to be heated? All of these things are all part of that process. And certainly you can go to places like the AKC and they have minimum recommendations for what you should have for a kennel. I would start there and make it bigger. So I don't know what the minimum recommendations are for a kennel these days, but if the runs for our dog, the enclosed, heated, cooled area for each of our studs is something in the order of 12 by about 20. So a pretty big area. With air conditioned and heated, and it gets cleaned up twice a day, and all of our dogs go out to run around at least twice a day, and they have interaction with other dogs, females and males, but it's all under supervision. So there's quite a bit to this, and at some point I probably should do a video just on the kennel setup. But you know, our way is absolutely not the only way to do it. We do get routine visits by the AKC to come check us out, make sure that we're doing things right. I think I did a video on that here about a year ago, where we had every visit we've had from the AKC has always been excellent, no problems. Well, I say that, they always find something they recommend that you do, because that's part of what they're supposed to be doing. So, you know, I think this last time, I'm not sure there was anything on that report, to be honest with you, but it may have been something like we didn't have a placard up for a particular dog giving its AKC number. I mean, we know our dogs so well, we don't remember them by their AKC numbers, we remember them by their names. And anyway, but there you go. There's 13 and a half minutes worth of me rambling on. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, bye. Happy Paddy's Day. Watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.